The past couple of weeks I've done videos concerning special foods and drinks, so today I'm going to be going over something concerning hobbits. And they imbibed or inhaled through pipes of clay or wood the smoke of the burning leaves of a herb, which they called pipeweed or leaf. Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. This is Gone with Gandalf, and every single Friday I do a lore video such as this. So if you've got any suggestions, feel free to put them in the comments below. And I'm going to begin by finishing off that quotation, a variety probably of Nicotiana. So that's going to dispel any of the rumours, any of the queries perhaps of what is pipeweed, and it is just tobacco, not anything more dank. This most important information can be directly learned from The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, in which there's a section in the prologue where it goes over specifically pipeweed, or concerning pipeweed, and it is like an excerpt of the herb lore of the Shire. And that was written by Meriadoc Brandybuck, or just Merry, when he was the Master of Buckland. So he wrote this in the years after the Lord of the Rings, when he was an elected official of the Shire. Merry does tell us, though, that the first to grow pipeweed in the Shire was none other than Tobold Hornblower of Longbottom. I don't know why I said it like that, because no one really knows who this guy is. But Tobold Hornblower of Longbottom in the South Farthing, he was the first to grow true pipeweed. And I've got it written down here, that was in 1070 Shire reckoning, so I'm going to put the actual date here. The year 2671 of the Third Age. So all in all, it's not actually been in the Shire for that long, considering, the Shire was founded in the year 1601. And perhaps even more interesting when we find out where this plant came from. But we'll get onto that in just a moment, because the best product was said to always then come from the South Farthing, where it first was grown in the Shire. And you had varieties such as Longbottom Leaf, Old Toby, and Southern Star. I'm sorry, I just felt like doing that. Merry does tell us that Old Toby, who's presumably just a hobbit, he discovered the plant in Bree when he went over there from his dwellings in the Shire. So he clearly just named his own brand of pipeweed after that. But he brought it back from Bree, which tells us also that Bree hobbits were presumably the first hobbits to actually begin the tradition of smoking. And of course, if you didn't know, Bree was one of the migration stopovers for the hobbits, who originally, of course, came from the Vales of the Anduin and further in the east. Now, I have a video on that, so I'll just put that up somewhere around here if you want to learn more. But Bree is in an interesting location up in the north, because it's where the Great East-West Road meets the old North-South Road, or as it's later known as, the Greenway, which connected the North Kingdom of the Dunedain in exile with the South, also known as Gondor. So because of this, you had a lot of travellers, you had a lot of dwarves, you had a lot of men, and this is how smoking pipeweed was kind of spread throughout different locations in Middle-earth. And because of this, Bree was seen as the mecca of pipeweed, which seems really odd. But you had these dwarves come there and pick up smoking. You have Dunedain rangers now as well, and the odd wizard or two. So it's very odd. But the Prancing Pony Inn, of course, where Barliman Butterbeer later dwells, that was seen as the place, and that is where the art of pipeweed was most hallowed. But as another tidbit, yes, the wizards, plural, did smoke pipeweed. Of course, we all know about the fondness that Gandalf the Grey had for Shire things. One of them was smoking pipeweed. But there was another wizard that also would smoke pipeweed. But he did it kind of secretly, because Gandalf made it in a fashionable thing, and he didn't want to be seen as someone that was copying someone that he thought he was superior to, and that was Saruman the White. Anyway, that's enough of that. Where does the plant actually come from? I already alluded to it earlier that it does not grow in the wild up in the north, and it does not originate in the Shire. Merry notes that during his travels, obviously during the Lord of the Rings, he went down south, and that is where he found it growing in the wild, so down in the lower reaches of the Anduin, or just in Gondor. It was said to grow more vigorously there, because the climate was just much better. But it's not thought to be native to Gondor either, and it's another one of those things that was probably brought over from Númenor. Obviously, a lot of the Númenorians came and sailed over and dwelt in Gondor. The weather was good, and it started just growing, and that's kind of the origin story. But the Gondorians, they didn't think of like, oh, let's put this, or let's dry it, and then put it in a pipe and smoke it. That's way too hobbity. They did not do that. They had, they just thought it smelled quite nice, and it had a name down in Gondor as Sweet Galinas.
We've had one, yes. What about second?
Herb.
But that does lead me on quite nicely to another herb, or weed, that was brought over from Númenor, and that was Athelas, or kingsfoil. Apparently they just have all kinds of weird things on Númenor growing, and it just gives you like superpowers. I don't know. But it is actually said that in the Lay of Lathian, which is kind of like just another story telling events that happened during the First Age, that Huon, who was a very large dog, he used Athelas to heal Beren following the attack of Celegorm and Curufin. Now, I have no way of actually looking at this directly because I don't own the Lay of Lathian. However, it is contradictory, just like many things that Tolkien wrote perhaps earlier on in his days. Not all of this was fully incorporated into like what you would call canonical story. So I would advise taking this with a grain of salt and perhaps just treating it as a separate work, similar to how you might think of the Hobbit films in particular. So yes, I think Athelas also came from Númenor. It was sparse in the north of Middle-earth, so up and around the lands of, the Shire, where the Rangers of the North would have been kind of prowling around. In the lands of the south, in Gondor, it was of course known as kingsfoil more commonly, and it again had unknown properties. Now, you couldn't stick it in a pipe and smoke it, but you would like chop it up, like dry it first, chop it up and put it in some boiling water, and that would kind of bring out some of the healing properties from it. Can't you like go to a spa or something where they just stick like hot water like directly below your face and it like opens up your pores or something? Well, this could have a similar effect where it would, even if you weren't like hurt or anything, it would just give you a sense of refreshment. And a really neat thing is that it had a variable smell. It always would smell quite nice, but to everyone that was smelling it, it would perhaps smell slightly different. But needless to say, Athelas was mainly used as a healing herb. Aragorn just slapped it on everything and anything. Have you got a cold? Athelas. Have you been feeling a bit down? Eat some Athelas. Have you been stabbed by a Morgul blade? Cram some Athelas on it. Obviously, Aragorn found some Athelas and used it for Frodo's Morgul wound, and then he'd later use it for victims of the Black Breath down in Minas Tirith as well, folks like Faramir. Rumour has it that the Hobbits hadn't quite got round to coming up with more industrial uses for Athelas, but perhaps that will be something that would be on like their to-do list. But anyway, there you have it, another video, and a video on the herbs of Middle-earth, or two of them. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, leave a like and subscribe if you want to. Anyway, I'm going with Gandalf. Good day.